All right, with Super Bowl 59 fast approaching, what seems to be getting all the attention isn't necessarily the greatness of the Kansas City Chiefs, who are arguably the most successful dynasty the NFL has ever seen. Instead, what we're hearing more and more is people out there blaming officiating for the Chiefs' success, trying to downplay the team's real achievements. And here's the thing, that's something Kansas City is going to use as motivation, as fuel to fire up their game. And trust me, I think the masses might seriously regret the narrative they're pushing because the Chiefs are ready to go out there and prove they've earned every bit of their success. So let's break all of this down because there's a lot to talk about ahead of this epic Super Bowl rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, let's kick things off with some good news. And that is Andy Reid isn't going anywhere after the Super Bowl. The man is coming back for at least one more season. Clark Hunt, the team's owner, confirmed this to Nate Taylor, The Athletic, saying, I know for a fact they'll be back next season. Honestly, this isn't a huge shock when you think about it. Reid just signed a massive contract extension last offseason that's going to keep him in Kansas City until 2029. And I'm talking about a 4-year deal. As long as Reid stays physically healthy and is up for it, it makes total sense that he's sticking around. I mean, you're in the midst of a dynasty here. You've got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes, and you've been dominating year in and year out. Why would you walk away from all that? It's clear Reid still has the drive, and he's part of the reason the Chiefs are so successful. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, coaching is obviously different from playing, though, and naturally, Travis Kelce is likely to hang it up before Andy Reid does. But when Kelce was asked where he hopes to be in 3 years, he gave an answer that really shows how much he still loves the game. He said, hopefully still playing football. I love doing this. I love coming into work every day. I feel like I've still got a lot of good football left in me. Football doesn't last forever. We know that. But based on how Kelce has played this season, I'd say he's got at least one more year in him, maybe even 2. He's under contract for next season. And honestly, if he's still feeling good, why wouldn't he keep playing? And who knows? Maybe he'll run it back for the 2025 season too. Clark Hunt seems to think so, given how much Kelce loves the game. But they're going to let him take his time with the decision, of course. They want him to come back, but it's going to be Kelce's choice. Now, moving on to Super Bowl Media Week, which has brought us some fantastic moments and interviews. Joe Thuney was out there speaking Spanish. Kareem Hunt shared some interesting stories about Mahomes and how competitive he is. Like, Mahomes wouldn't even let Hunt win a game at Topgolf. And then you had Harrison Butker, who talked about the growing pains he experienced after his knee surgery and how he's managed to come back even stronger. But for me, one of the standout moments was from DeAndre Hopkins. When asked what he was going to wear to the Super Bowl, he gave a response that really caught me off guard. Hopkins shared that his father passed away back in 1992. And the only things his dad left him were a few items, one of which was a mink jacket. And get this, Hopkins said, I always say I'll wear that mink jacket to my wedding, to the Super Bowl, whichever one happens first. I'm wearing my dad's mink jacket, dog. Honestly, I wasn't prepared for that level of emotion, but hearing that really hit me. When you add that to everything that happened with his mom, you really just start rooting for this guy. I really hope he gets a ring because he's one of those players who truly deserves it. There are a few veterans on the Chiefs offense who haven't won a Super Bowl yet: Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, and Kareem Hunt. Of course, I'm hoping for a Chiefs victory in general, but seeing these guys get their first ring would be incredible. And speaking of Kareem Hunt, let's talk about him for a second. He's made the most of his second chance with the Chiefs, and now that he's got this opportunity for redemption, he's going to make sure he capitalizes on it. I honestly think Hunt is going to be the primary running back again in the Super Bowl, just like he was in the AFC Championship game, where he led the team with 17 carries compared to Pacheco's 5. Hunt has really shown that he's got better vision, and being rested up has made him more effective. Pacheco has been solid, but after his ankle injury, he's just not quite been himself. Hunt's been more explosive, and he's had some incredible runs down the stretch of this season. Now, we all know the Chiefs' running game isn't exactly their strength, especially when you compare it to the Eagles' offense. The Eagles have a much more dominant ground game with Saquon Barkley and a highly explosive offensive line. The Chiefs, on the other hand, rank 30th in explosive run rate and 32nd in rush yards after contact per carry. But the Chiefs can still find some success on the ground if they need to. And it's going to be important to establish at least some sort of run game to keep the Eagles' defense honest and help balance out the passing attack. Expect Mahomes to scramble more in this one too. The offensive line is going to have its work cut out for it. Joe Thuney is going to be at left tackle again with Sendo at left guard. But here's the thing. Kondo has been a weak link on the line this season. allowing a 7 pressure rate. He's going to have to hold his own against monsters like Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. Carter has racked up 73 pressures this season, and Williams is 50. Either way, it's going to be tough. On the other side of the line, Thuney will be battling against Josh Sweat, and Juwan Taylor will have to go up against Nolan Smith Jr., who has been on fire with 4 playoff sacks. But even though the Eagles' defensive line was dominant, Super Bowl 57, they've dropped off a bit this season. They went from 70 sacks last year to only 41 this season, while the Chiefs have also seen a drop with just 39 sacks this year. Still, the Chiefs' pass rush has been effective in terms of pressures, ranking in the top 5 with 171 pressures, while the Eagles are near the bottom with just 111. But one thing the Eagles have going for them is their incredible pass defense. They've got the highest coverage grade on PFF, and they're ranked as the number 1 pass defense in the league. That being said, Mahomes has a solid track record against the top-ranked pass defenses in the postseason. He's 3-0 in those games, averaging 37 points per game with a 70.8 completion rate, 2.7 touchdowns per game, and a passer rating of 108.5. So while this Eagles secondary is top tier, Mahomes has shown he can still light it up against these elite defenses. The Eagles secondary includes some really strong players like Quentin Mitchell and Cooper D, 2 rookie cornerbacks who've been outstanding, along with veterans like Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And don't forget about Zach Bond. The linebacker has the highest coverage grade on the team. He's also one of the best against the run, but he did pop up on the injury report with a groin issue. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on heading into the game. Now, here's where things start to get a little ridiculous. People love to point the finger at the refs whenever the Chiefs are involved and it's getting out of hand. The whole refs rigging games for the Chiefs narrative is so tired at this point, but it keeps popping up. And let's be real. These people who push this theory are looking for any excuse they can find. Take that one media guy, Rich Shittenley, who somehow got press credentials despite being a failed radio host. During Super Bowl media days, he actually asked Mahomes and Kelsey, who's your favorite ref? Do you send them Christmas cards every year? Do you love Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties more? Like, really, that's the kind of question we're getting. But here's the real issue. It's not just some random guy asking stupid questions. The narrative is being pushed by people who are bigger names in the industry, too. Adam Schefter threw some fuel on the fire with a few tweets before the AFC Championship, and it just blew up from there. It got so absurd that Roger Goodell had to laugh at it during his Super Bowl presser when asked if the Chiefs were getting games rigged for them. The idea that the refs are somehow conspiring to help the Chiefs, that's just nonsense. To make it even worse, the NFL Referees Association Executive Director Scott Green had to step in and call out the conspiracy theories as insulting and preposterous. There are 138 officials across 17 officiating crews in the NFL. There's no way they could all collude to rig games for one team. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that the refs are perfect. The officiating in the NFL can be inconsistent. And yes, the Chiefs have benefited from some bad calls, but that happens with every single team. The best teams, though, find a way to overcome those bad calls, and the Chiefs are a prime example of that. Here's another stat that puts things into perspective. The Chiefs are actually one of the most penalized teams in the league over the last 7 seasons, yet they're also one of the most successful teams. What does that tell you? They overcome bad calls. They don't make excuses. They get it done. And speaking of penalties, the Chiefs are 26th in penalty yardage per game difference, which is in the negative. But here's the kicker. During the playoffs, the Chiefs' opponents have been flagged more than the Chiefs. Why? Because the Chiefs are simply more disciplined in high-pressure situations. They've been to the playoffs year after year, so they know how to stay calm and avoid the penalties that hurt other teams. Now, let's talk about the whole Taylor Swift conspiracy that some people are trying to spin. They say her relationship with Kelsey is part of why the Chiefs are getting so much attention, and it's helping the NFL rake in revenue. But honestly, I don't buy it. If we're really talking about generating attention, the Bills or Lions would have brought in more buzz than a Super Bowl 57 rematch. The Chiefs were already dominating before Swift and Kelsey ever started dating. The Chiefs have made it to 5 AFC championships in a row, won 2 Super Bowls, and played in 3 by the time 2023 rolled around. So the Swift theory really doesn't hold up. The Chiefs are a great team, and they've been winning long before that relationship ever came into the picture. As much as people want to discredit the Chiefs' greatness, the players hear it. Mahomes, Kels, Chris Jones, Justin Reed, they're on social media. They may not always respond, but they see everything. When people talk about how the Chiefs' success is because of the refs or some external factor, it gets to them. It motivates them. They use that discredit as fuel. And trust me, when you poke the bear, you're about to find out what happens. On Sunday, that's going to be on full display. They're ready for it, and I wouldn't want to be the team that's trying to stop them. But now let's gears and talk about Saquon Barkley, because this is a huge X factor for the Chiefs defense. We all know he's going to be a priority for the Chiefs to slow down. And I'm not saying they're going to completely shut him down, because let's face it, stopping a talent like Saquon is nearly impossible. But if the Chiefs can limit his explosive runs and keep him from going off for 150 yards, that's a win for them. If you remember back to January 2020, when the Chiefs faced Derrick Henry in the SEC Championship, they held him to just 69 yards and a touchdown, which was a huge accomplishment considering Henry had over 1,500 yards on the season. So while the Chiefs defense isn't quite the same as it was 5 years ago, they've got a good shot at limiting Saquon, especially if they can jump out to an early lead and make Jalen Hurts rely more on the pass. The other thing to consider is that Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert are both dangerous in the middle of the field, which has been a weakness for the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs have given up a lot of yards to tight ends over the years, and Goedert is one of the best in the business. He's lethal on third downs, and Hurts has been extremely efficient throwing to him. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Chiefs linebackers like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal. They're going to have to be on their A game to limit the damage in the middle of the field. Then, of course, there's the pressure on Jalen Hurts. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL, but the Eagles don't throw the ball much. They run the ball a lot, which makes it even more important for the Chiefs to be able to get pressure on. Hurts has shown that he struggles when pressured, and the Chiefs have one of the best defenses at generating pressure. If Spagnuolo can dial up some good blitzes and force Hurts into uncomfortable situations, that could really shift the game in the Chiefs' favor. Now, we can't forget about the tush push the Eagles go to short yardage play. They're almost automatic with it, but I'm not super concerned. The Chiefs' defense isn't known for stopping it, but Philly's O-line isn't 100 healthy heading into this game, so that could play a role. Still, the Eagles convert on that play about 78 of the time, so it's going to be tough to stop. Special teams will also be crucial. If this game comes down to a late game field goal, I trust Harrison Butker way more than Jake Elliott. Elliott has been awful from 50 yards this season, so that's a huge advantage for the Chiefs. Plus, Nico Riggio had both the longest punt and kick return in the playoffs, so he could break one for a big game, like Kadarius Toney did in Super Bowl 57. In the end, this is going to be a tough game against a well-coached Eagles team with playmakers all over the field. But I think the Chiefs get it done. Mahomes is 12-0 in Dom stadiums, 3-0 against top-ranked passing defenses in the playoffs, and 8-0 against Vic Fangio. Plus, Andy Reid's teams are 32-7 when given extra time to prepare. All of that tilts the scales in the Chiefs' favor. I'm predicting a 31-27 Chiefs win. They're healthier, more rested, and I think they have the coaching advantage. As long as they limit Saquon, win the turnover battle, and execute, they'll win their third Super Bowl in a row. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who are the key players to watch? Until next time, let's go Chiefs.